Alright, so last time the camera just kind of shut off at random, but I think that's actually a pretty good way to
and stop us from ranting.
yeah, enforce a time limit on these videos. But I'd like to start off by saying that I have probably the best dad on the face of the planet. Like 2 days ago, he went to court getting sued because like a part wore out in one of the cars he was working on while he was working on it. On top of that, his phone that we've had for like only a year just completely ceases to function whatsoever.
Yeah, same phone as yours.
Yeah, which is worrying.
Yeah.
And then friggin' my brother doesn't even live at our house anymore, just kind of shows up out of the blue with someone that we don't know, and like just has like awkward moment because like E goes home and there's like people in the house and it's like what the hell, and all this weird shit's going on. He's dealing with his work that's already stressful because he's there like all day every single weekday, like way longer than like normal 9
to 5 hours.
Yeah, way longer than that. He gets up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and he gets home at like 7 sometimes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well.
So all this bullshit's going on, and he's still totally able to just like drop whatever he's doing to help me. Because yesterday, I thought I had enough gas to make it home. I was absolutely sure, because I was like just below 1/4. I'm like, I can do this. I've done this before.
And your car's like, fuck you.
And then, yeah, I'm like a minute away from the gas station in Vacaville, and boom, it just stops working. I'm already in the slow lane, because I'm literally in the slow lane to exit, and my car stops running.
What is that like? Like, is it just like the engine turns off?
It's like having the accelerator do nothing all of a sudden.
Like, so like even if you press on the gas, nothing works.
Yeah, like everything works except for the accelerator all of a sudden. Yeah, you're like into the side. I've never had my car break down before though. Like I've had situations where like we had to get it running.
Yeah.
From a parking lot or something like that, but
yeah,
I've never
like
had to like
battery
just
die, but it never did like in mid drive die.
Exactly. I've never had to just stop. I was like really weird. I didn't know how to react. I just knew get to the shoulder, but I didn't get enough to the shoulder. So like I was in it all the way. I was like past the line and everything, but like not like the way that you're supposed to do, which is like halfway off the pavement altogether, because it's like terrifying to be that close to the freeway. I get out of the car, I leave the headlights on. I'm completely oblivious until about half an hour later that apparently leaving headlights on for like even like 10 minutes will completely just drain your battery. If it's
so
not
you got
running.
the gas, come back.
I was figuring like the batteries are massive, so it can do all this crazy shit, right? Like, I was thinking of like a battery, like it can do stuff, but no, it's sort of like a processor in a way. Like it can't hold shit.
Yeah.
If your car's not running, it doesn't do anything, and it just drains in like 10 minutes. I've had dead batteries before, but it's like, oh, we left the headlights on while we were in school, so it's like not a good gauge of distance. I'm standing on the hill. He drives all the way out, helped me out. He actually brought like a tank of gas to pour in. He's actually like helping me get gas in the car when he's almost standing in the lane.
Jesus.
All this bullshit's happening. We can fill it up, the car won't start. And we're like, okay, we'll try jumper cables. He literally drives up the hill like a 45-degree angle. I think it's gonna fucking fall in the car, but he's just used to this shit, so I just trust him because he does scary shit all the time in his car. I hate driving with him because he scares me. But just parking is scary.
Really?
Yeah, because he does it like at night. He's like 65 mile per hour turn, park. Yeah. What? How did that work?
Speed racer, go.
How did we stop? That didn't make any sense. But he fucking lives.
Physics doesn't apply to him.
He basically lives in cars, so I just trust him. We do the whole jumper cable thing. No, it doesn't work at all. We actually go all the way to O'Reilly's. We get a new battery because it's like, oh, it's a 4.5-year battery, so whatever happened, it's definitely fried at this point.
Oh,
we actually go all the way back. He installs the new battery on the side of the freeway. Doesn't work.
What?
Now we're like, it went from like not doing anything to doing that, like the revving sound, starter fluid and everything. Nothing will start this car, but it's like everything seems like it should be starting. We actually had to get it towed home.
Jesus.
To do all this shit. The fact that he's willing to put up with all that shit, and then he's still like, oh, and then he'll still be like, oh, and then, like there's also the fact like he's supporting me, like I'm going through college, and like my college I'm paying for myself through grants and like money I make, but he's like taking care of me.
Yeah, like food and everything else that keeps you alive is pretty much.
I keep out of the way and I do chores and stuff like that. I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't do much of anything to like repay the money really, besides like I'm an awesome son.
Yeah. I don't fucking run your bills up. Yeah, that's pretty much.
So it's
Jesus.
Yeah, he goes through all that shit and he's just dropping everything. Like even today, he's like, oh yeah, we're not gonna be home tonight for dinner, so go ahead and just like pick something up on my car. And it's like, what? This guy's amazing. The fuck?
Jesus, I don't. Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario is I might get left a couple bucks to buy something. Like usually like $5 is like make that work. Like,
Yeah,
holy
make-
fuck! All right.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go to Subway, buy a fucking footlong for $5 and hope that fucking feeds me enough. Like that's like the extent of my. But I mean, I'm not doing anything aside from anything extracurricular. So
it kind of works.
Yeah.
Ish.
I mean, I don't eat
Yeah.
that much. So it's like I fucking buy a Subway and eat that for breakfast the next day. So
Get a foot long, eat it for 2 meals or something.
pretty much, yeah. But
All right, so
fucking.
yeah, and we just saw the Kate concert and broke your little 10-year streak of no concerts.
That's true. Last concert I've been to was
Yeah.
an Aerosmith concert a long time ago, like the Arco Arena.
Yeah.
It was still the Arco Arena,
That's
I guess.
terrifying.
Yeah, it was.
I don't think I knew who Aerosmith was 10 years ago.
My
in all
parents
honesty.
did. I did because
Yeah.
my parents used to blast them all the time. So I was like, yeah, I like these people. I know
Yeah.
their songs, and that
Like-
I
like
did.
for me, I'm thinking I was 11.
Yeah.
Like
I think it scared me more to
God.
see what they look like than it was to actually hear them.
I think that's way back when my favorite band was Nickelback. Like thinking like 11-year-olds. Jesus, it had to be like Nickelback.
Nickelback.
It had to be like Nickelback or Green Day or something like because when you're 11, you usually know like 5 bands.
Yeah, I think back when I was 10, I think my band streak was like Aerosmith, fucking AC/DC, and
That's supposed to be a really cool show.
and like. I think that was probably, I never saw AC/DC. I know that those were the 2 bands I watched, I think, and then aside from that I listened to like George Carlin on audio
Yeah.
tapes, and I still have some of his audio tapes. Like I still have a tape player that has tapes for George Carlin.
God damn. I
Yeah,
don't think
and-
we have cassettes in the house anymore. We
Yeah,
have
like-
vinyls because they have the massive old collection that old people have. But,
Yeah, but like I have
but
that's,
tapes just kind of got dropped
I
altogether.
think it's crazier because I have it hooked up to a surround sound system.
Yeah.
So I'm like listening to tapes in surround sound, which doesn't really work that
I think
well.
that's
'cause-
one thing that I think that's you know how like that thing where old formats just had like this novelty to them.
Yeah.
I think that completely skipped tapes.
It does. it's kind of like tapes and 8-tracks were just skipped over in novelty because
Yeah,
they just
like
sounded
everyone's
so
like
terrible
records
no
are
matter
cool
what.
because they're got giant box art and they're big black.
Yeah,
things.
but, like,
they're
cassettes-
shiny.
Cassettes didn't have anything but burden to them. It was like, so you play it a
Yeah.
few times, you might just destroy the tape.
It's like
Or you-
VHS tapes. No one's psyched about VHS tapes,
No.
really. It's like,
And the sad thing is I still have like a box of VHS
Yeah.
movies and a VHS player.
but I think like video games are the only thing where like people enjoy having a cartridge format of any kind.
Yeah, I didn't. Ironically enough, this is a good segue. Is that I was trying to get the N64 to work on my computer.
Yeah.
And it took me an arm and a leg because I didn't realize that screen resolution it won't load for a certain screen resolution.
Because
But
it
at the
just
same
does
time-
not render as
Yeah, it
above
won't
a
render.
certain size.
Yeah, and then I realized that the fucking the cartridge is just being a bitch. Like I'm sitting there just like I pull out my N64. I'm like shit, this thing's kind of dusty. So I take some
Yeah.
canned air and just like spray it all out. I'm like sitting there. Blowing on the cartridge, plugging it in, trying it on. You see like the little flicker just and it goes off, and you're like, no! You take it off, you blow the cartridge again, you put it back in, you turn it on, it goes. I'm like, so close. And I'm like, man, I kind of don't miss these cartridges.
When was the last time you turned it on?
It was probably a couple of years.
It's weird what you could do to those things to make them work. Where if something happens to your disc, it's like the end.
Yeah. Or it's just, it's funny because I'm sitting there and getting all angry about this, and then I fucking turn it on. And I realized like that the first thing on the game is like an 18-hour playthrough I did when I was like maybe 13 years
The
old.
Jet Force Gemini, right?
Yeah, on Jet Force Gemini. I was like 13 years old. It was like an 18-hour
So
playthrough.
you have like the entire world explored, but you don't have the little bears collected. You just
Yeah,
have no
it's-
idea what to
but
do.
it just amazed me because I'm like, shit, I haven't played this game in so long, and I just put in the cartridge and it's like, yeah, it's like yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, you just played it yesterday.
That's
I'm
the
like,
weirdest
what
thing
the
about
fuck?
cartridge format is that it saves files directly to the game.
Yeah.
Which is a bizarre thing to find. So like,
It was, it was a lot more fun back in like the days when like Funkoland and stuff existed.
Yeah.
Because then you have the opportunity where like you go in, you buy a used game, and you plug it in, you get to see like everybody else's playthrough.
Oh, God.
And so you get to see like all these people. It's like like Jeffrey, and it's like who the fuck
Yeah,
is
you buy a
Jeffrey?
used game and just have bizarre saves everywhere.
Yeah, it was like, and then, finally got that to work. So I'm gonna start. Hopefully, we'll start recording that soon. I had to go
Yeah.
through and delete the entire list of games were all filled up and all of them were like 5-minute playthroughs except for mine, which
Like you
was only 18 hours.
just kept making new files.
They weren't even
over and
mine.
over
They were
again.
like other people's.
That was a remarkably long game for a 64 game, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was.
Like you could literally spend dozens of hours trying to finish that game.
It was because it's like they had all these. They did a blend of mixing Doom and like
Banjo-Kazooie.
and Banjo-Kazooie into one, yeah, because it was Doom in the regard of like where you had keys to unlock certain areas.
Yeah.
So you had to go around the world, and you can follow through the world and never unlock the key rooms
Yeah.
because they're just
It's
bonus.
it's heavy exploration.
Yeah, there's
on
just
it.
so much
And if
exploration.
you didn't unlock certain things, you just kind of wouldn't progress, right?
Sorta, yeah. So you had to
At
like
least,
kind
at
of.
least like you might progress like temporarily, but then when you get to the end, it's like, oh, I missed shit throughout the game. And I have to go
Yeah,
questing
and so
for it.
it's kind of nice because it does that element, so it keeps it
Yeah.
longer for you. But
I think Banjo-Kazooie is actually a pretty good comparison because it's like instead of having was it Brunhild's castle or whatever her name was,
Grindels.
you just
Yeah,
instead of the castle, you just have this like hub of planets on your map. But aside from that, like every individual level functions just like a level from Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
Even down to the part where you have to get a specific amount of collectibles from all the various levels combined to progress at certain
I remember
points.
the coolest thing they implemented in that was they literally made it so you can't just run through levels.
Yeah.
Like like each door had a life. It was called like a life lock, and so you had to kill every enemy in the room just so you could progress.
Yeah.
And it made it so much more difficult because I forgot about that, and I'm sitting there and I'm like
And there
trying
were
to
some
fucking
really
aim with.
difficult enemies in some of
Oh
that.
yeah, and I'm
some
trying to
of
like
that game.
aim with an N64 controller, and I'm like, why don't you have dual fucking joysticks? This is the worst aiming system ever. I'm sitting there just trying to, and I'm like holding half of the control on
Yeah.
one side because the other half just doesn't function. Because that's how most N64 games is either like this way function, or this way function. And so it was kind of like this three-way, like you could
They had 3 handles for some reason.
Yeah,
none
and
of
so
them,
it's like-
none
so
of them did
games-
everything you wanted.
yeah, and so games just decided which side of the console or controller
Yeah.
they wanted to use. And so
Like, I think JRPGs always used the pad basically. But
Yeah.
most things with guns use the stick.
yeah, and so it's just
at the end they had practically the same functionality, but whatever.
it was fun though. It
Yeah.
was fun to go back, and it was like
It kind of blows your mind just hearing the sounds again.
yeah, like the fucking 16-bit audios, like
Like that was the one absolute requirement when they did the HD remake of Perfect Dark. Like I'm all for like making higher resolution textures and like getting everything prettier looking. Do
Yeah.
not change the audio.
Yeah,
at
do not
all.
change. No, because
There's so much nostalgia just hearing
Yeah.
that. Like,
And even if-
like when I fired up like Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the first time in like a decade, as her "Die, monster! You don't belong in this world" with this horrible '90s voice acting. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm
Yeah.
not going to get up until I beat this game.
Yeah, and I mean that was like that was the novelty. I mean, but yeah. So going back to the K concert, that was really interesting. A lot of interesting people there. A lot of asshole people.
Yeah, people that will because there was no seats.
No, there was no seats.
A
It was
vital thing here. We're literally standing.
in an auditorium.
Yeah, we're
so
standing
in
in
an
an
auditorium.
auditorium.
They're on the stage.
There were people like be like, "Excuse me," and they'll push past you, and then they'll stand directly in front of you and just stop.
Yeah, like
and they'll stay there. Like they're gonna stand there the whole time. It's like, hey, like
Yeah,
you,
what the-
you like you acknowledged my existence when you pushed past me, so like, you know I'm here, right behind you.
Yeah.
And you're like a foot taller than me, and you're just gonna like stand right. in
Oh
front of
yeah,
me.
and
like,
it's always the
what
worst,
the
worst
fuck?
people too. It's like it's not like midget people walking past you going excuse me,
Yeah.
because it's like fine, go ahead.
And there was an intermission halfway through the concert because it was just one band playing a really long set.
Yeah.
So
2 sets.
we went to that little like
smoker crowd.
yeah like this concentration camp for smokers that was on the side of the building where you're locked in.
You had to get like a
and it's,
stamp on your arm.
Yeah, there's no
and-
ventilation. They
Yeah.
keep track of you and everything. But when we got back, we just sat in the back, like on the balcony, sort of risen area, just because we're not gonna squeeze
No,
through all the.
yeah, because it was like that. Pretty much the intermission was when everybody like took the chance
Yeah.
to like squeeze in even more.
And I loved how in the exact moment that they started playing, you just immediately smelled pot.
oh yeah.
Like it was huge.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
the
freaky.
exact moment. It was so bizarre.
I just curious like how in that like in Arco Arena it's a lot different. When I went to Aerosmith, there was
Yeah.
also pot, obviously.
There always
But,
is.
yeah, there's always is. But in
Even
Arco
in
Arena, it's like such a bigger area
Yeah.
that it's like you can't really judge where it's coming from. But like in that small auditorium, you
It's
can't
like boom. It's like someone farting.
yeah, and you can't honestly be like you can't honestly be in an auditorium and expect no one to notice or smell it because
Yeah.
it's like
And
it's there.
pot's got such a strong smell though. You can smell it outside. Like
Yeah.
I went to a Dropkick Murphys and Flogging Molly concert. It was completely open air on one of those massive like was it like Canocti Stadium or something? Like it's this huge like almost like a football stadium type of setup of seats, except it just goes in one like fan direction
Yeah.
for a stage. And we were all the way on the very top, like way in the back and shit, because we're like, this is cool, because like you can look backwards and they're just like, boom, drop.
Yeah.
And there was wind. It was windy, and we were really high up, and still we smell pot the whole fucking time. It's like we're in the open air, we're far away from people. There's wind, and it's not even going towards us.
It's like a
and
disease
we
at every
can smell
concert.
it.
Yeah, it's like every concert has to have this disease of pot. And it's like, god damn it, someone at this concert has to be a goddamn pot smoker. It's fine, I don't mind, but it's just like, do that during like an intermission or do it, like don't do it like, if I wish I could, but I'd be more than happy to just light up a cigarette right in the middle of the
Yeah.
concert and just be like, this is
It's
great.
kind of funny that
Woo.
you're respecting the smoking rules for regular cigarettes, but people are smoking pot all around you.
Yeah, like I'm just like there are times I'm sitting there going like, you know what, I should just say fucking do it, but then it's like I'm gonna get the one caught.
I think it's because don't cigarettes aren't they just a lot more noticeable visually? than pot?
Yes, because
It's like
pot's
they-
usually like you have
I
a
don't
bowl
think
and then
pot-
you like
yeah, and I don't
smoke
think
it.
pot has like a big
Unless
noticeable-
they're doing a joint, and then it's
Yeah.
more physically noticeable. But most people, like I saw even when we were in the smokers corral, most people
Yeah.
were actually sitting there using like a
And like
a
all the
pipe.
times I've seen it, I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually use a joint.
Yeah, it's very like, especially sometimes.
Probably because they're too lazy. It's like I'm gonna do all that. No, I just buy a tool.
Well, and because you can just keep it in like a purse or something, you can bring it on you.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like so. My curious question: how the fuck did they get that through the goddamn security?
Huh. That is kind of questionable because they were really thorough.
I mean, I was getting pat down.
Yeah,
And I didn't mind because it was a girl at least,
Yeah,
but it was like, you know.
Yeah, every single one was a girl, which was kind of amusing. But it was full body pat down and everything. It's like, we're going to like a
concert.
college auditorium to see
Yeah.
a local band. Like it's a local band, but it's everywhere and on the radio
Yeah.
and shit. But it's Cake.
Yeah.
I really enjoy Cake though. Like the big song that got me into them in the first place, and I never thought about this much when I first got into it because I was like 12. But I'd hear that song "Sheep Go to Heaven,"
Yeah.
and it goes "Sheep go to heaven, goats go to hell," and it has all these like bittersweet, negative, positive lyrics throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's very like, especially when you see them live, you're like, this is kind of a bitter person, so it makes sense. Like he says stuff like that all the time.
But
Like
he's funny.
this side,
I mean,
this side of the audience hates you for
Yeah.
being strong, and stuff like that.
He's a funny guy. I liked him. He was
Yeah.
a good entertainer, especially for like the at the end of the first set. It was like,
Yeah.
you know, for everybody who didn't know, we're Cake, and we were opening for ourselves because we didn't want you to skip out on us. It's like,
Yeah.
like,
What
we came to
I've
see-
noticed for a lot of their bands, though, especially the earlier stuff, is that there's a sort of double meaning to everything. There's sort of like this like wide open surface level message that's always like really like soft and trite and kind of boring. Where it's like, yeah, sheep go to heaven, goats go to hell. Like you go to the obvious thing, like what my dad thinks about the song, where it's like, oh, if you're just a silly little sheep, then you just like things work out for you. But if you're like a grumpy goat, then like stuff fucks up. It's like this really trite sort of
Yeah.
like nursery
I was
rhyme
thinking
kind
of
of
it more
message.
of like in a religious aspect,
Yeah.
where it's like goats are normally seen as like devil
Yeah, like
things.
there's this negative thing to it, but then that the religious thing actually kind of plays into it too, because that's something that kind of falls into this thing where like there's an inherent suppression of critical thinking and to a large number of people that follow it, that just kind of like, I heard this once and I do it.
Hi.
I'm
This-
sorry, I didn't want to be in your video.
But there's the I can't even focus.
What?
He's an astronaut cat. He wants to go to the moon one day.
Transition. People are often the people that are actually.
He'll come up again.
That was when he was supposed to bark. Like the moment I said I think he's dead.
He'll do it like at the
Right as soon as I start talking,
Yeah.
basically.
But-
But there's kind of cool double layer to it where you have like. It's all your fault. So you screwed up the entire video. Shame on you, Andrew. I get a kick out of the double meaning in "Sheep Go to Heaven" because there's that obvious service thing that's really like uninteresting. It's just sort of like, see, just be silly and happy and stuff. But then you have this sort of like religious undertone to it, where like, yeah, the flock, like, you know, like the preacher always refers to the group of people as like their flock,
Yeah.
their sheep. People always generally use that word now as this meaning of passive people that don't really think about stuff and just kind of follow whatever is going on.
Submissive idiots.
Yeah, where the goat would be this pessimistic asshole, and like
Free thinker.
Yeah.
Damn you, free
Yeah.
thinking!
and you have this whole like sheep go to heaven, goats go to hell. Like it's like, oh, things probably because our society will sort of favor you if you're just this passive person. When
Yeah.
if you're this one that actually jumps up and has things to stand for and is making a big deal about things, then you're gonna be people are like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Get out of
Yeah.
my hair and stuff like that. This whole thing where like if anything's
accept.
important, it's encouraged to not talk about it. Like the whole thing, like, oh, don't. What was it like if you like have a relationship with someone, like don't talk about religion or politics with them, and it's like, well, aren't those kind of important things about like figuring out whether or not you should be spending time with this person and stuff like that? It's like,
It depends. It's like I've always found that if you're gonna talk about politics and religion,
yeah,
it's best to do it when you're like thinking of marrying someone.
yeah,
in relationship.
like if you think the relationship's like a real thing.
Yeah,
as
like a
opposed to,
serious relationship.
yeah.
Then yes, there's never a time you shouldn't, because that's gonna
Because
just bring
if
more.
you get into a serious
problems.
relationship, you definitely want to know about that kind of stuff because like
Yeah.
even if the
Because later down the road, when it becomes something like important as like the whole Obama
like,
versus McCain thing, you don't want to be sitting on opposite sides of the fucking room, each
like,
of you wearing a T-shirt.
There's
That's
always
different.
things like on a surface level, stuff like immigration and things like that. Like they don't really directly affect either of you.
No.
But your opinions on those topics and various other topics as a whole kind of say a lot about what kind of person you are.
Yeah.
And if you have massive differences in like political and theological beliefs, you could be really incompetent, incompatible without knowing, and that's kind of like
and that's kind of the inherent danger of like getting into something serious without knowing someone fully well, which is why it's usually like, and I mean, you could even come down to the most simplistic thing is like if you got married and had kids. If one of you wants that kid baptizes something and the other person doesn't, then you're screwed. I mean, this is going to be a complication.
And even aside from the functional things, there's just the fact that, like, if you're in any religion, really, you're kind of brought up from, like, day one being told all these different messages all the time.
You have a certain
and
lifestyle.
if you're an atheist, or if you're just not religious, or just have this very vague, really like, like, all these, like, vague karma-related beliefs and whatever you believe, like, you have a specific household you grew up in that has very specific beliefs, and whether you agree with them or not, they do have, being exposed to that all the time has some sort of influence on how you turn out as a person in the end.
Yeah.
And failing to acknowledge those, not only does it ignore the kind of person you are and can fuck up the way that you're going to lead your life, but it can like lead to this really bad situation with you and other people.
Oh yeah. It just, I don't know, I personally, I'm personally like a deist, so it kind of is like everybody's favorite religion, because it's like, I acknowledge there's a higher power, I just don't, I don't have an interest in...
Just have no idea what it is, or
well,
don't care what the rules are?
No, it's just, I believe in a higher power, I just don't want to be with a bunch of other people worshipping it, because it's like, I don't like people, so it's that easy out.
It's like, it's like the stay-at-home mom version of a religion, kind of.
Pretty much, it's like, I can stay at home and if I want to practice something, I can, if I don't, it doesn't matter, I'm still acknowledging there is a higher power. So other people go like, oh, I believe in God. It's like, yeah, I believe in a God too. Yeah. But I just don't want to go to church and worship with a bunch of people singing and eating dead people's bodies. Yeah. I mean, that's just not what I'm interested in. That just creeps me the fuck out.
That does creep me out. Really.
Yeah,
it's like the whole like body and blood of Christ. It's like, what?
And we look down upon the Donner Party. Those people were evil, right?
Yeah.
No.
That's a little weird, but
yeah. I mean, then again, saying that his body turned into bread and wine, so that's even more weird. So it's like. That's the best decomposition I've ever heard of.
An alchemist.
Or an alcoholic. Like, how does he blood turn to wine? I mean,
that would be impressive. That'd be an impressive feat.
I think Thomas Jefferson's blood turned into wine. When
He'd be like Wolverine, where like it's basically impossible to kill him. But he just drank so much alcohol it replaced his bloodstream, and he starts running on it. I am Duff Man.
Pretty much.
I just made Duff Man as a real superhero.
Jesus Christ is Duff Man.
God. But
the hate mail flows.
Whatever you call like I'm still unsure about the definitions of the words, and I don't really care enough to check. But like the whole agnostic, atheist, one of those things.
Yeah.
The one that doesn't involve actively trying to like hunt down and destroy any religion in any form. The one that's just like, I'm not religious. The end.
I think that's. I want to say that's agnostic is the one that doesn't care.
I think agnostic is the one, because
atheist is like, I want to vehemently go and destroy all religion.
Atheist sounds like I'm going to be like protesting religion on the streets and stuff like that. It's like,
which doesn't make it.
I just don't buy it.
I never understood that.
Yeah.
If you hate religion, then just don't do it. Why do you even want to associate yourself with a religion if you don't want anything to do? Like, if you call yourself atheist, why? Don't call yourself anything. Go, I'm nothing.
Yeah.
I don't believe in anything. I'm nothing.
What bugged me is like when we did when I did the Fox News article and we posted it to Raptor, and you posted it to Raptor and got all the crazy comments. Someone posted who had atheist in their name, so suddenly this thing that started out about gaming, and then but it's like a gaming article about news corporations, like and how they deal with gaming,
and it just like anamorphed into like religion, hate.
It went headfirst into politics, like partisan politics that didn't even have to do with it. Then someone posted that said his name was Deaf Atheist, which is like this inherently like
that's almost
confrontational name. Basically, it's like
Deaf
come
Atheist?
at me, bro, Deaf Atheist. But
like I can't hear your complaints, but I don't believe in God.
Yeah.
It's like what? Like how
he goes head first and then like
I want to be in a religion that argues with
just by the simple
people.
fact that he posts, even though he's not posting about religion, his name flares up religious arguments out of nowhere.
Really?
Yeah.
That
post had like 140 comments. Yeah. It was crazy.
Well, it also breached like I think that's the highest upvotes I've ever seen on
the entire site that I've ever seen. It had like 140 or something.
Thanks, Fox News. Keep on trolling.
But just because he posted with Deaf Atheist in his name, did the religious thing, and what bugs me is this whole thing where like they say atheists have a religion, and it's like it's the fact they don't believe in God is their religion. It's like, no, that's
Well, I mean, you can't
you can't call the absence of faith. That's like.
Well, the absence of faith does not mean you have a religion. But it's like, cause I thought you were saying like because they don't have a God, they can't be a religion. I was gonna say, well, you look at Scientology, that has no fucking rhyme or reason to it at all. Aside from the fact it's just like
Scientology is a scam.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is like obviously.
Sue me. But
I mean, it's like obviously that is a religion, so people can get away with that.
Did you read that book? That I'll send you that sometime. There's a thing called Paul Haggis versus Church of Scientology, and it's sort of like autobiographical. No, it's like a biographical thing of what happened to this guy because he was a high-ranking person in their organization, but he rebelled against them because they were something like Scientologists were in some form in LA or something were supporting this anti-gay stuff, but both of his daughters are gay, and so he like left the group for because he was protesting against like the fucked up shit that they were supporting.
Yeah.
And he was cut off from his entire basic society. All of his friends, all of his family, everyone who was Scientologist literally cut him out of their life instantly. Like they're required to.
But
if you don't, like that's the most fucked up thing I've ever heard.
But that doesn't make any sense at all because it's like if you want,
it's because it's such a bullshit organization that you're supposed to ostracize anyone who rebels against it instantly. It's like witch trial type stuff basically. Because they want you to be immediately ignoring them and looking at them as damaged goods the moment that they rebel against anything that is said. Because if you're looking that way, you won't take anything they say seriously. Because you don't want those people to be listening to like say why someone left their religion.
So like Scientology is just it's like immensely more.
It's so
propaganda.
It's such an expensive religion that is so clearly a business.
Really?
It's written by. I mean it's all based on the beliefs of someone who professionally wrote science fiction. And if you read about it, it's like the whole thing about like oh, we're alien spirits that were trapped in a volcano and whatever the fuck, like this whole thing like that South Park did the episode on and everything. It's like this is a science fiction premise, but he just called it a religion this time and like he said it was all real.
Well, I mean, come on, that's how most religions start. It's like long time ago there was this man
you don't just like snap a religion out of nowhere from a fiction writer that does it professionally for decades.
No, but I mean, come on, do you have an exact background of who wrote the Bible?
No, I'm saying like
Quran,
that's my point actually. Is like back then we don't have all the details, so it's harder to disprove everything on such a.
Does that make it even worse than like valid? It's like
it's harder to disprove all the stuff on a surface level because we don't know it all. Like we don't know the exact details about all that stuff. This is like we can just look at it on the most surface level. It's like this is bullshit. Do you see how it's bullshit? It's right there. I can point at it.
So does that technically have like a valid argument? So if someone comes up and says like, Wikipedia is obviously not credible, and you could just look at them and go, well, neither is the Bible. Like I mean,
Wikipedia is actually pretty fucking reliable.
Yeah, but I mean, like
the moderation
Wikipedia and the Bible are almost in the same premise. People add on to the Bible all the time, and people add to Wikipedia all the time, and there are people you can't get valid sources from.
It really does. It does kind of bother me because there's so many versions of the Bible, and they try to say that it's the Word of God, but it's like.
But apparently, God keeps overspeaking himself. He just la la la. Wait, I meant to add something else.
It's clearly being written by people at that point. So is the Word of God being sent through people? And if it is, why are there multiple versions that contradict each other? How do you know which one is the Word of God? And
can I just ask how come?
Why does he keep having to correct himself if any of them are the Word of God?
I just want to know, like, if this is God who created everything on the earth, why didn't he just create a fucking book with everything in it and just throw it to the earth?
I don't know.
What is it? Why do you have to go through?
Why doesn't the Bible just have concrete rules in it as opposed to like these stories that you're supposed to get morals from and just hope that you're picking the right side in each story? Like from what I've seen, all the stories are like two sides conflicting with each other, and one of them wins out or one of them loses out, and obviously you're supposed to pick one side, and that's supposed to be the one you get morals from. The other one's supposed to be evil and the devil and stuff like that. But like, how do you know you're picking the right one? Maybe that was assholes that are saying that you should like burn people at the stake for having sex with other guys or whatever the fuck. Maybe those are like the evil guys.
Yeah.
Like, how do you like if you look at it?
But it touches on that propaganda idea where it's like you're subconsciously being told, and
you're told it from the day you were born, and you take it for granted because all these people that you love tell you about it.
Yeah.
So it's like that fucked up Penny Arcade comic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're
Where he's like, it's It's like, oh, fuck. It's talking about Santa Claus and how evil Santa Claus is because you're told about Santa Claus from the day you're born. And it's a complete bullshit, but you believe it because everyone you love tells you about it. And then, I don't know, where Tycho's like, kind of like religion. He's like, dude, that's fucked up. But it's like, oh, fuck, that's the same thing.
It's
like,
the same
it's
thing.
done the same way. It's just that they never tell you it's fake.
It's like,
because they believe it too and everyone believes it. It's like,
in a way to not be offensive, any kind of following that something has, and you learn about it as you are growing up, that's in itself propaganda.
Everyone has these things. They're grown up. They're raised in a certain way, and it's very hard to break free of the way you're raised.
Yeah, and so it's like it's inertly like if you're gonna raise a child, the best way to do it is free spirited, and not like in a hippie manner where just keep your kid naked and hope it learns what clothing are.
And the main thing I was ever like raised upon really was just to like. Basically focus on school. That's pretty much what I was raised on.
That's my parents too. Is like I don't give a fuck what you believe in or who you associate yourself with.
Most of my specific morals came from scratch. Like I just kind of came up with them along the way because they obviously like oh don't hit other kids and things like that. But like basic human
that's laws.
stuff.
That's there's a difference between like what you cannot do throughout life and what you can choose in doing in life.
And then when I go through high school and college, I learned about critical thinking and all these processes for how you gauge how something should on its own merit and everything, and so it's so hard for me to buy on into any religious anything because the way they present it to me, I'm instantly breaking it down on a logical level, and it's supposed to be an emotional thing, but it's like there's a whole book about it with laws and stuff. Like it's all very clearly spelled out, so you can't call it a purely emotional thing when there's so many like freaking concrete things in it. Like basically like. The Bible's even mathematically incorrect. Like, you know that thing about the circle in it?
Yeah.
They describe how the dimensions of the circle, and it's like that's not a circle. Like that because
you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, because if you look at this and actually try to construct this thing, it would require pi to be 3, but pi is 3.14. Blah 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 blah. It's like
so it tried redefining what math was.
Yeah, like it wasn't mathematically correct because it was made by some guy that didn't know what he's writing because it's not. Written by God.
But I thought it's from the Word of God.
It's supposed to be the Word. It's supposed to be the Word of God, but
God doesn't know
the numbers are wrong. It's like if
there's community college in heaven, God, you need to take it. Go retake some GED classes.
Or like this thing. I tried to talk to my grandpa about because he's very religious. And he lives in Texas and everything. I asked him what I asked him what happened to people. I asked him what happened to all the people before Jesus came here because he apparently like saved everyone and died for our sins, and like everyone after that's like, oh, we go to heaven because we believe in Jesus and everything.
So what happened to people who died before?
Yeah, so like what happened? Like even in Bible's version of history, there's 5,000 years of history, even though there's like 65 billion years or whatever the hell. All these crazy numbers and stuff, but they say 5,000 years. Even by their definition, that means 3/5 of that time there was no religion basically. Like there were all these false pagan gods. It's like. What happened to all these people? Were they all just bad people and they didn't have to go to hell? Because I guarantee you that's not true. There's always good people somewhere.
Well, and it's like the idea that you would be giving someone...
Oh. I'm finishing this, damn it. But,
I was just going to say, it's like...
I feel like a dick.
Well, I just meant that, you can't, it's like, it's like not due process, it's like, you can't, if God exists and He wanted to, save people, you can't just hide yourself then and wait until 5,000 years later.
Like the way I see it, like if there's a God who's genuinely this good person, then
why would you make people who didn't know about you suffer?
Like if God is a genuinely like good person of some kind, then you'd think that He would like judge people based on whether or not they're good people when they do go to heaven or hell, not just based on whether or not they're proper like God fearing Christians, which is a scary word because like you're supposed to be afraid of him because he's a jealous God, and that's actually in the Bible. Like he'll get mad at you for believing other stuff.
Well, isn't he a god? How come he can't kill other gods?
I don't know. I have no idea. Well, supposedly they're not real. But supposedly he is the only god. So if you believe in other gods, you're like evil and pagan.
But I thought all gods basically were him, just in a different name.
I have no idea. I have no idea how they justify it. I always get conflicting stories. But what bothered me is that my grandpa's description of why all these people, how they were dealt with, is that if you are ignorant to Christianity, then you're judged on your own merits, basically. Okay, so basically everyone before Jesus went to heaven or hell based on whether they're good, but everyone after Jesus is doomed to hell unless they're Christian. It's like, well, then why did Jesus ever show up?
What an asshole! It's like, Jesus is like the worst person to face the planet.
That was like on any critical level. Description.
That means this guy came and like just literally destroyed all of humanity's chance for like success.
If he believes that, and I'm like, well, why did he show up? Like he kind of doomed a lot of people by doing that.
Aside from the
Everyone's
fact that
getting too crowded,
aside from
they
the
need
fact
crowd
that
control.
he created a religion that led to countless genocides and massive wars that had no real purpose.
Whoa. It was in the name of God. They weren't
Yeah.
genocides, they were crusades. There's a difference. Crusades
There's
are
so many
good,
horrible
genocides are
things.
bad.
There's been so many horrible, like the Crusades and stuff like that, or all this thing,
War is the number
or
one.
colonization in the name of God and stuff like that. Like,
But yeah, but war is the number one reason why humans kill each other. Like war has
Yeah.
always been, or like religion has always been the focus of most wars.
Yeah.
Same with even our war today. It's because someone's
a lot of-
religion inflicts
in
with
the
our
past,
personality.
wars were over like territory and stuff like that. It's like
Because-
those get resolved kind of quickly.
And those were real wars. When
But
you
in
just walk over
religious
like,
wars,
I need this
I
land.
hate your entire people forever, or you're fighting a defensive war against someone else who hates your entire people.
That's-
It's like
That's just, like I can see like the way that the way that I see terrorism, like based on their religion aspect of following terrorism. So it's like Muslim
Yeah.
terrorists in their regard of how they enact their Bible is like they give a proposition to America, which is either kill yourselves or we kill you. It's like that's the worst like mythology ever, because it's like there's no room for conversion, there's no room for
There really
acceptance,
isn't. Like,
there's no room
everyone's-
for like you have to be the most spiteful, angry person to believe like that's the
Yeah.
only way to live life is just to either
And
convert
it's one
or
of the
it's
reasons
like
why I'm so in favor of science in general is because over time science has been like defining the rules behind stuff that has previously just been explained by like, God did it.
yeah.
And those three
Science
words.
is a stubborn
Those
child
three
of
words
God.
say, those three words say stuff all the time. Like there's a Mega 64 video where he pretends to be the fish guy from that Dreamcast game.
Yeah.
He's like, do you know what the greatest invention of mankind is? No. It's religion. Fuck. It's like it's language, and he's like man didn't the first person he's talking to in the video is like man didn't create language, God did it. I'm like I'm sick of like everything that we can't take credit for anything anymore because God always did everything. But it's like, well, now science is explaining all these things that all these religions try to explain incorrectly, like say what pi equals and
But
stuff
could
like
you
that.
turn that around then? So it's like Hiroshima,
like,
Hiroshima and
I was saying,
Nagasawa.
yeah.
Thank God,
Uh,
thank God that he made those atom bombs that we could drop on you people, and Hitler killing all the Jews. Thank God that God invented the ability to kill massive amounts of people in showers. And
but that's the devil. Don't you get it?
no, because God
Yeah, I'm saying
made
like
those people.
didn't God create the devil?
Yes, but He also made people.
And there's always that like thing people like to mention is like in the Bible, like God kills like hundreds of thousands of people or whatever the hell with these massive like
Well, but it's
slaughters.
It's like
and
the
everything.
idea
And
that
then-
if you
and then
sell
and
someone
then the devil kills like 7 people in the entire book. He's basically like a minor character. He's like He's like
He was- actually,
he's kind
he
of
was-
like if you go to like
he was actually a good person.
It's like when you go to
all
North-
he wanted to do
yeah.
was like prove that humanity was pieces of shit.
it's like when you go to Norse mythology and you see a Loki. If you ever look at any
The
like,
trickster.
if you go to any Marvel comic, he's like this ultimate villain. Like in the Avengers movie, he looks like he's gonna be the bad guy of
Well,
the
he's
next
got like
movie,
horns like
basically.
the size of like his
Yeah.
arms coming out of
Like
his head.
in
He's
the,
like in this
uh,
green jumpsuit. He's like,
Then like if you read actual Norse mythology, he's just kind of this like lazy trickster dude that just kind of messes with people
yeah.
for fun.
He's just like a god
He
jester.
kills way less like he almost never like just goes like killing random people the way that like Odin and Thor do.
Oh,
They're like, hey, look, people
Odin.
die. Like there's one like Odin's like, oh, I have a really look at this awesome hoe like for
yeah,
farming
and
everything.
he just starts killing people.
No, like he's like check it out, and like all the people want it. They all want to buy it. It's like, and to resolve it, he throws it up into the air, and they all charge for it, and they end up like killing themselves on it. Basically, it's like, what the fuck, Odin? Like, there's no like message here. Like, you're just a dick. Like, this is a cool tour. Can we buy it? No, it's throw it in the air. Like, let's throw weapons at people, and then Thor will just crush skulls whenever he feels like it. Loki will like, oh, there's this magical horse, and like to trick it. And in order to make like Thor lose a competition of some kind or whatever the hell, like
Yeah.
he'll like lure his horse away by transforming into a mare and like lure it off into the woods, and then he'll do really weird shit like he'll have sex with the horse, he'll give birth to like a fucking kid, and like Loki created this weird like 8-legged horse. It's like, what the fuck, Loki, you're crazy. Like he's this bizarre mate. He's like every bizarre Japanese thing you could ever think of. Like that's Loki.
Yeah.
It's like there's no random reason. He just does random tricks or stuff, but he's not like an inherently evil person. And it kind of seems like that's what the devil does basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's generally like the idea if you're a free thinker, you're going to be looked down upon.
Yeah.
If you're ignorant and just like
Going right back to the cake song.
yeah, and if you're ignorant and just accept everything, then you will be living a happy life because then
Yeah.
everybody can just walk all over you, and you never have your own ideals or your own beliefs or your own opinions because everything has to be based on someone else's who is always right.
And one of the best books you can read to make you afraid of this whole concept of just sort of submitting to stuff
is the Bible.
Yep. Have you ever read 1984?
No.
That book is terrifying.
Really?
It really is, because it obviously it's written a long time ago, so it's like 1984 is the future and stuff like that. But it's
1984 is the future.
But it's got this.
Yay!
Yeah. So obviously it's a little outdated.
Hanna-Barbera, yay! Wait, no, that's not even right. Transformers, yay!
Yeah, like it's a little old now compared to other stuff, but it's
better than 2001: A Space Odyssey.
What it talks
that
about
never...
is terrifying though, because it's an entire society where everyone's just sort of submitting to their government.
Isn't that kind of like Soylent Green too?
I actually haven't seen that movie, but I know what you're talking about.
Kind of
like,
the same.
Soylent Green is people.
Yeah, but it's like the same idea.
Like people submitting to their government to a point where like they're essentially thought police.
Or
they edit history.
Equilibrium.
Like Equilibrium too, except without the drugs that make you not emotional.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's like the idea of erasing,
but if you
erasing art.
They basically have cameras everywhere, including where you live and where you sleep and everything, and they'll just keep track of you all the time.
Right.
And they'll just watch you. And if you show any sign of rebelling against the fabric of society in any way, they literally just like drag you off V for Vendetta style, like bag over the head, just take you out, and they either try to basically reprogram you, or they torture you to find out who you're with if you've affiliated with anyone else that's doing the stuff, or they'll just kill you. It's like, and they're just following you all the time, and it's like,
how do you?
It's a terrifying book.
Have you ever wondered if you've seen where people write books or write movies like science fiction stuff, and then people try to make that stuff. Like the iPad was based off of Star Trek's little like handheld the PDA thing that they had.
Yeah.
And there's medical stuff that's based off of movies. Have you ever thought that like the downside is people base their ideas of making a government based off of books like that?
Yeah.
Like they look and go, that sounds like a good idea. Let's try that.
Because there's both positive and negative science fiction books, basically.
Yeah, and so it's
everyone kind of wants like a future that's like Star Trek, where it's like everything's idealized and like people just kind of stopped killing each other at some point.
Yeah, we just realized that killing each other was just like balls in the wall crazy.
You have things like the fucking the fabricating devices. I forgot what they're called, but like you can create food basically.
Yeah,
the replicators. There we go.
Yeah, and so everything was cured. Like any problem you ever had was just done.
Basically, what we do at this point, because we're like so driven to always like progress in some way, because that's just like human nature.
We're just helping other planets that aren't progressed yet.
We're just exploring the universe.
We're like the ultimate best people on the planet, like in the universe. We're just going around and just being like, hey, we're gonna help everybody doing everything in any way we can, and we're like,
but at the same time, you have science fiction books like 1984 that feel like they're almost like writing the blueprint of how to fuck up the world.
Yeah.
It's like it's a warning, but there's so many books that are written as warnings that people take like, oh, let's do that. It's like, no, bad.
And again, it's like it kind
because it's a warning to people, but for governments, they can read the stuff like, this is actually a good idea.
Yeah, and then you start seeing it slowly implemented.
And the first thing is when they start. The first thing is that the government would do when they started rewriting history and everything.
Patriot Act.
They fucking burn that book, so no one else can do it. Oh, fuck that book though. I recommend it.
Fuck that book. I recommend it.
It's
just
it was really entertaining and like tense, and I wish there's probably a movie based on it, but I'd be afraid to watch it.
It just
because it's probably terrible.
I don't know. It just seems really creepy to think about the idea that people could just take this this innocent kind of just desire to tell a story and just destroy the world with it. It's like,
All right.
It's like, why would you? What?
I think we're gonna end it on that note.